Welcome to Bloomfield in Focus. I'm Township Supervisor Mike McCready, and today I'm joined by our Public Works Director, Noah Mehalski. It's been a particularly brutal winter in Michigan, with many events of snowfall, icy condition, and single-digit or negative temperatures. Sometimes we get all three at once. In today's interview, we'll discuss how this winter compared against averages, what we can expect when the spring weather hits, and the way Public Works prepares for anything and everything. Noah, welcome to the show. And we are taping this. We have some unusually warm weather in February, but it's been a tough winter, and this is welcome warm weather, a little relief for us. Tell us approximately how many runs our crews have been on since Thanksgiving weekend when we got our first significant snowfall, Noah.
So basically this winter has been one of the worst, both record-wise as far as temperatures, the early timing that we got the snow, like you've indicated, and we've had approximately 2 to 3 times the number of runs or snow events this year for my staff, and that kind of also includes more salt use, more overtime hours, and just more time and effort spent to react to this winter stormfall.
Yeah, I remember at the end of December, in the first week or two, our finance director came to me and said, hey, our salt budget is at 143%. We've never seen numbers like this. And so we got a hold of you, and you said, yeah, we had 17 events, I think it alone, or 18 events in December, which is unusual.
Yeah,
Normally,
that's more than we had the entire 2024-25 season. December was particularly bad. In addition, the snow stuck around due to the low temperatures. Again, the second coldest December on record for Michigan.
And then we got hit in January as well.
Same story. I don't know what the ranking is for January at this point, but we had one little tiny warm spell at the beginning of January. Then it was sub-zero temperatures for much of the remainder up until recent.
Back to back.
Yeah.
It's been really something.
Right.
It has. And then in December and then January, how many were total runs?
We're up at 29 total runs right now.
Right. And have you ever seen so much salt use?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of ebbs and flows. What we budget based on a 5-year rolling average, and the last time we had conditions like this was more like 2014-13 time frame.
Okay. And then we start hearing about salt shortages. It was on the news for a while, but I talked to you about it, and we seemed like we're in pretty good shape. What was causing some of the talk about salt shortages?
So there's no shortage of salt. There's a lot of it underground in Michigan, all throughout the state, particularly in the Detroit area. That's where our mine is. What you're seeing is logistical issues with pulling it out of the ground, processing it, and then actually delivering it to the users. Where the pressure is most right now is on the private sector, the people who do private areas and for hire work. We have contracts that dictate the pricing, and those don't change based on a bad winter.
Right. Well, we have that salt storage facility, and so we buy it in bulk.
Yep.
And we pay on time, so they appreciate that.
And we do. That's an important thing. We do have the ability to store 5,000 tons of salt, which helps us to kind of weather these ups and downs as well.
Right. Yeah. And as you use salt is one application we use on roads, and you have other methods to help treat the roads for conditions, icy conditions, freezing rain conditions. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So each storm ends up being dynamic, and we're going to enter a pattern here where we have like warm to cold storm events, so that could lead to icing. For that type of stuff, we have to use brine. If it's colder in temperature, we increase the brine as well because salt effectiveness becomes less. In fact, in late January, we weren't putting any salt on the roads because it was ineffective due to temperature.
And what temperature range is that when it happens?
Salt's very effective in the 29 degree, and then it just loses effectiveness as you go down to like 4 degrees. You melt like a fourth of the snow that you can melt at 30 degrees. Okay. So it becomes, by a power of 4, less effective as you go down to like 4 degrees temperature versus 30 degrees.
And then the brine comes in. When does the brine come in?
We do pre-wetting, and that helps us. The salt doesn't actually melt the snow. It's actually the brine solution. So when we use the brine to speed that process up, additionally, we can break the bond between the concrete and the snowpack by applying that brine ahead of time as well. So.
And then other than brine, do you have another method that you use as well?
Yeah, I mean, we on the gravels in particular, we can rough the roadway up and use a little bit of sand on them. We
Okay.
don't use sand on the areas that have storm drains and stuff like that, but that's another method. And additionally, our brine solution has a carbohydrate additive that helps it stick to the roadway better as well. And it's basically just a sugar that makes things sticky.
And then why do you want that to stick to the road? What's the purpose?
That way you're not scattering off the roadway and treating, let's say, a roadside,
Okay.
right? And or then you eliminate, you're basically putting the salt right where you need it. And then any brine that is created by the salt working into solution flows down through the roadway instead of that taking place on the side of the road and then leading into a creek or a ditch or things like that.
How does the price of brine compare to the price of salt? Because brine is a product of salt.
Yeah, so we have a brine maker here, and so it's very economical for us. I think we can make like 10 times the brine, which has a better effectiveness on de-icing from the 1 ton of salt. Let's say we can make 10 tons of brine, which actually works better and is already into solution.
And then you also mentioned cornstarch. And when and how do you use cornstarch?
So we don't use cornstarch. It's another example of a carbohydrate. We use a product called Thermal Point, which is a beet juice product, and that's probably due to we have several large sugar manufacturing entities in the mid-Michigan area, and so it's a readily available product. You just have to be careful. If you use too much carbohydrate, things become slippery. So you want to use just enough to make it stick, but not enough to be a hazard on the roadway.
Yeah, this year has been so challenging, I think, for all road crews. And you had mentioned dirt roads, and we have how many miles of dirt roads?
23.
And they really take a beating this through this time of year, through winter, but also with this change in temperature, because you can't scrape them because they'll turn to mud right now.
Right.
So what do you do?
Yeah, so therefore we can add material at this point.
Right.
Roads at this point, there's the top layer will become melted, and then the bottom layer will be frozen, and that's what's called pumping, and that's where it's liquefaction of the top surface of the road. What we can do there is just dump bigger material to kind of float the roadway until everything thaws out. We know where the problem areas within the township are. I mean, every dirt road at this point is a problem.
Right. But some
we
more
are
than
out
other.
there. Right.
You know, like that Forest Lane, that gets so much traffic through there,
Right.
and more so than others. I
And you
think.
got a higher water table there as
Oh, is
well
that right?
in that area.
Okay.
Yeah, that leads to problems. But it's really just this thawing, freezing. We like things to be more stable
Right.
as we're moving through these freeze-thaw periods. Bear with us. Both the hard surface roadways and the gravels are going to suffer as we go into spring.
Which then takes us into the next problem. As we start to see these temperature changes, and I hit one a couple of weeks ago, a pothole, and I had $600 of damage to my wheel and my car. And I don't know if I've ever hit anything as hard as I hit this pothole. I didn't see it's at night.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. And so there's not, all you can do is go out and find the potholes and fill them. And right now, we're going to see a lot of that, I think.
Yeah, certainly we are shifting. During these warm periods, when it's warm and it's not wet, our staff will be out doing potholes using a cold patch material.
Yeah.
It's an inferior material to the summer mix that we get,
Yeah.
But we are filling them. And, certainly call our offices, use the website to submit any work orders you have for that, the app as well from the township. Really, our own employees are out there filling potholes, but the public is our eyes and ears for this type of thing.
Anytime I see one, I know I send you a text. And,
Yep, indeed.
Yeah, but let's talk about cold patch. Cold patch is just it. It's cold. It goes in. It's just a temporary filler until you can go back and take care of it in the spring.
Yeah, I mean, cold patch can stick. It's just got a lot of things going against it. It's the material doesn't emulsify because of the nature of it being colder, and it doesn't have the binders in it that the summer asphalt has. So you lose that a little bit of the effectiveness, and a lot of times the temperatures and the level of moisture in the roadway is working against you as well, right? But it's still, we have to keep things safe and drivable, and they will stick if prepared properly for the winter season. So
Yeah, and what's the lifespan of cold patch then once you put it in?
I mean, again, if it's in a low traffic area, it can stick pretty good, but it's really one season. If anything that we patch with a cold patch product, we kind of keep a note that we're going to be back in spring. And sometimes we're literally raking the cold patch out of people's yards because that we've had a cold event after a patch event, so it's definitely
Yeah.
an inferior product.
And so I know your number. I can send you a text or call, but you were talking about how residents can reach out and call DPW, or they can go on the app. We do have an app that they can go at and report a pothole. And so let's say I'm a resident. I see a pothole. Call DPW. What number do I call?
Yep, 248-594-2800.
Okay, and we'll put that on the website.
Yep, that's our administration staff.
Right.
My email's on the website. Our departmental email is on the website. Then the app, those are all good ways. We like talking to our residents as well. So just give us a call
And then maybe it helps take a picture of it.
Yeah, certainly, or location. A lot of people get, right in front of my mailbox, and
forget to tell you where the mailbox
right,
is.
I mean, and, literally there might be 20 or 30 holes when we're out there. So we're going to try and fill them all.
Right.
But if you can give us the best information you can, to tell us.
Right,
So,
yeah.
And even if it's not, we only take care of our secondary roadways, but if there's potholes on our larger roads out there, we can reach out to our partners on behalf of the residents.
Well, now that brings up the next question. You talk about our partners, because all of our roads are owned and managed by the Road Commission of Oakland County or the state of Michigan, which MDOT, or they contract to RCOC, and then RCOC will contract the township to take care of certain roads. Can you tell us a little bit of the breakdown of roads? And
so the primary roadways within the town, all roadways, like you've indicated, are owned by the Road Commission for Oakland County, or MDOT in our case. And the M-labeled roads, such as Telegraph, Woodward, the Square Lake Adder those roads are owned by MDOT, but they're taken care of through a contract by the RCOC. Similar to us, we're contracted with RCOC owns the secondary roads, but they contract with us to maintain those roadways on their behalf.
Yeah, which includes all the dirt roads as
Dirt
well.
roads and then the subdivision roads.
The neighborhoods roads,
Yep,
right?
yep.
And we're seeing a lot of problems on our subdivision roads because they're very old.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of our communities or our subs within our community were built in the 50s through 70s. And so with a life expectancy of about 25 years for a roadway, that is the case for a lot of our roads.
Yeah, I think someone mentioned one time that our roads are held together by potholes.
Some do look like that for sure. And,
Yeah.
The village was a good example of that. They're, pulling out of like a 5-year rebuild in the village, and that is going to have that'll free up my staff to do other work. Additionally, we support those SAD communities with crack sealing and stuff to make those projects go farther. So.
Yeah, those roads are beautiful there now, but those old roads, and there's still some that are going to get replaced now, but they not only had the potholes, they had delaminating going on, which is a sign of the times, or too many layers on the road.
There were areas in there where the curbs of the roadways were buried under 8 or 9 inches of asphalt overlays, and then you start to impact drainage, and the longevity of the road suffers.
Right. So, and our plows were very busy this winter as well. I know the guys were out running 12 to 16-hour shifts. How long does it take them to get around? And we're just handling the interior roads, which are basically your neighborhood roads, right? And we have, 12 plow trucks out constantly?
Yep.
And you wait for the snowfall to stop, and then you send the trucks out.
It kind of depends if it's a shorter duration storm and maybe we're going to get 3 inches, we can kind of hit the tail end of the storm and go through. But you're right, it takes, when we're dropping the middle plows and not just doing a salt run, it takes anywhere from 12 to 16 hours to get through the township for our people.
One scrape.
One pass.
One pass through.
Then I have to rest them for 8 hours.
Okay.
And then we just react. If it's a long duration storm, they'll be back at it again. That happened a couple times this year.
Right.
Typically, we can wait till the tail end of the storm, plow it, and then rest the guys, though. So.
And then we had a couple of days there, or weeks, they were so busy that you had cots set up here at DPW so they could come in and rest here for their 8 hours and get right back at it again.
Yeah, that's a big commitment by our people. We do have a lot of young staff right now that are really willing to step up to the plate, which is a good thing. It's taken them a little longer to get through it, which is the catch-22 there. But this has been a good training season, and yes, we have multiple people, whereas if it's an hour-long drive home in bad conditions and an hour-long drive back, they're really losing 2 hours of sleep in their mind. Yeah. So we do house them here, and we have facilities for that if necessary.
And we had we had retirees over the last year that affected our plow area, and so you hired new drivers, and they're all licensed. They all have to get their license. And we found this year they did a pretty good job. We did. How many mailboxes did we go through?
I don't know that, but not abnormal amount.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, how many we keep in stock?
Right. Thousands. So yeah.
Are they all black?
No.
No, you got all different colors?
There's crazy mailboxes here in the township. So yeah.
So
some that are built that look like the actual house.
Yeah.
And we'll make every effort to replace it in kind.
Yeah.
So.
I read some of those emails, and I tell you, I put a smile on my face because the one would read, "They took out my mailbox again."
Right. Some drivers do keep points for a number of mailboxes knocked down, but I don't have any knowledge of that with my staff.
Well, I love that one cake. I think it was Jason Simpson when retired. They had someone made a cake with all the broken mailboxes on the cake. That was great. But that typically is what happens, right?
And that's really a lot of the conditions. A heavy, wet snow is going to bring that. Right. New drivers will cut it too close, but that's kind of, if we are too far away from the mailboxes, we get a letter from the Postmaster General. They can't get to the mailbox. Okay. And if we're too close, we bust them down. So we're trying to get into that kind of sweet spot with that.
Yeah, it takes time and, experience.
Right. And it is, as much as my guys joke about it, that is a negative on your record. If you do, lay down a string of mailboxes and you do it repeatedly, that's, something that we would definitely check into. And I'll say it's another value-added thing for Bloomfield Township. If the road commission for Oakland County hits your mailbox and knocks it down, that's going to be your problem to take care of, whereas the township, we replace those.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And then also, every once in a while, we get one about tearing up the lawn, and that happens. And we go back and we'll fix it for them, right? Just call us and let us know.
Certainly, it's that awareness, right. And as we get it, the snow's been sitting for a month here, so as we get into the spring and these things reveal themselves, give us a call. You'll get on a list as the landscaping. My guys will even come out there, and if we can lay the sod back over in the spring, or if we have to bring in a company to do the restoration, we will do that. We're responsible for all that
And
damage.
then I find you're somewhat of a meteorologist as well.
Yeah,
so
certainly.
Tell us the next couple of weeks, what's your forecast say?
Yeah, so I've been looking at it, and I think we have kind of broken the pattern of this negative temperatures and sub-zero type of weather. So what you're going to see now is more of our typical thing you see in December and into the March season, where it's up and down, where you might be above freezing for a couple days, and then you're back down and you get a storm system that moves in. Particularly in the next 10 days, I see that pattern bearing out, and we have 2 chances for snow, but we also have 2 days that are going to be 47 or 50 degrees. So we're kind of in that our normal type of winter pattern right now, where we're going to see those storms coming from a warmer to a colder type pattern, and it just depends when that cold front hits as to how much snow we're going to get, or whether it's an ice event or things like that. So,
okay, you can't predict an early spring for us, can you?
No, neither could Punxsutawney Phil, but I'm not going to do that either, right? So,
okay.
And weathermen get 50% error rate, so if you give me that, then I'm good.
And your brother's a part-time meteorologist now.
He is,
full-time school teacher, part-time meteorologist.
Yes,
right?
indeed, and I pick up a lot from him. Plus, I had I had enough meteorology training to be dangerous in college. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Noah, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for all you're doing, the service to the community, and your men and women that work in DPW, because it's been a challenge this year.
Indeed, and we're ready for that challenge and ready to serve the residents. So thank you.
Thank you, Noah. All right. Thank you again, Noah Mehalski, our DPW director, and I wish everybody a happy spring.